Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. This is a breakdown on the Lil Durk case to see if he's going to get life in jail, if they're going to release him, if they got enough evidence, if Quando Rondo would testify, who else is going to testify against him. All his comrades, a lot of them seem to be flipping the script, but we're going to get answers. Put in the comment the questions you got, and we're going to get the answers and get things popping. All right? So this is what it is. Let's get the music off. All right, so now, check. Right, this is a federal case. This is a breakdown on Lil Durk, right? The nature of the case so y'all understand. This is a federal criminal case, not a state case. When it's a federal criminal case, that means that the time like quadruples compared to what you get in the state. That's why everybody try and keep their cases in the state, so you understand. But they done brought this over in the feds. Now, why did the feds pick this up? The federal jurisdiction applies because prosecutors allege that interstate travel and communication were used to carry out the crime. That means that he used cell phones and social media and everything, because it goes across different state lines. So that's what gives it jurisdiction. That alone allows the case to be charged in the federal level, and that's where they bang you out with the time. All right. Now, the core allegation: the government alleges a murder for hire conspiracy. Legal, right? Now we're gonna break down what legally conspiracy means: an agreement and steps taken towards a crime. That means if you agree to pick me up after I rob a bank, and then I rob the bank, whether you go or not, you could be charged with conspiracy because you conspired with me to rob the bank, even though you didn't carry it out, you didn't go in the bank, but I carried it out. So be careful what you play yes man to. When somebody say, yeah, I'm gonna go bust this dude, because I'm tired of him doing this. I just want to give him, some gunshots because I'm tired of this, and you say, word, he deserved that. You already know he's supposed to get that. You hyping it up. You figure he gonna do it. He a crash dummy. He just faking. But he goes out and puts it in him. So now when he puts it in him, it comes back to you now. And now he says he told you he was gonna do it and you told him to do it. Now you look at as much time as him, and he winds up getting less time because he brought you in on the conspiracy to give you some time. So now the prosecutors get a 2-for-1. You already know what that is. So we got that with the interstate traffic. That alone, the case can be charged on a federal level on the conspiracy. The core allegation: the government alleges the murder for hire, like we said, right? So we got the conspiracy, and now if the death results as a part of what the crime is, if someone lose their life, like in this case, a bystander, was unalive during the alleged plot, when death resulted, federal laws allow for automatic life in prison. So that means that if he's found guilty of this conspiracy for murder for hire, the federal law requires and allows life in prison. Now, what the government must prove, right? Prosecutors must prove an agreement existed, meaning, yeah, you go out there, you take care of that because they did that to the homie, and now we want to get that done. Interstate facilities were used. That means the phone, the communication. The defendant knowingly participated. They do not need to prove that the music lyrics caused the crime. All they got to do is say that he knowingly participated by telling them, don't use my credit card. Make sure you don't get it this. Or any little communication that they have, and they're going to try and get those text messages and, other things in the cloud. Now, plea entered in his case, right? Lil Durk has entered a not guilty plea This means that the burden of proof remains entirely on the government. Now, pretrial detention, right? Now, where he's locked up now, that's considered as pretrial detention. He's being held without bond while awaiting trial. Pretrial detention is legal when the court finds risk of flight or danger. So they try to use that he was running to all these different, countries with it, with the book and the flight. So that's what they're using, and they saying that it's an unaliving case. So, and he paid someone to do it, so he's a danger to community. So they don't want to let him out. Now let's talk about why the bail was denied. The judge ruled, right? The judge ruled that the charges are extremely serious. Proposed conditions did not eliminate risk. This is a procedural decision, not a finding of guilt. So in other words, they're not giving them, bail because, with the conditions that he's under, he's going through this, because that don't mean nothing because it elevated, to someone losing their life. So they using the procedural rules and, just really banging them out, right? So the federal judges can deny bail, right? This the bail standard now. The federal government, the federal judge can deny bail if either the defendant is a risk or the defendant poses a danger to or both. Now, motions filed by the defense. Defense attorneys file motions to dismiss the indictment, disqualify prosecutors. These motions challenge procedure, not evidence or guilt. So in other words, they're trying to use technicality in order, to win the case, which that's how you win most cases. Because, we got an old saying. Let's take a ride. We got an old saying back in my days where it says, dead man tell no tales. So they always looked at it like the easiest thing to beat is a murder case because you have no witness because the person that was murdered is already gone and you did it by yourself. But now they do it with ops and crews and gangs. So that's where you get this complication. Back then, you got an issue with somebody, you go handle it yourself. You got to remember, a secret is no longer a secret if you tell someone. A secret is no longer a secret if you tell someone. If anyone other than yourself know, and that's me, myself, and I, that means it's no longer a secret. Do you agree or not? Put that in the comments. Now, the court's ruling on those motions. The judge denied and dismissal of the case. This means that the case proceeds towards trial as scheduled. Now, Rule 12, Rule 444D, evidence issue. The 404s, that's funny that they mention that because I had to learn all this from going through because, I served 26 years in federal prison myself and had to fight it just like this. But the 404B, those are the statements that the police take from the witnesses in the police's own words, but that's still evidence. So now if the police want to say that he misconstrued what he said and and he put it in it, now they want to use that as evidence. But then they'll call the police on the stand to ask them exactly where did you, get this wordage that you use doing this joint, right? And so on. Defense objection to that evidence. The defense argues this evidence is unfairly prejudicial. Judges must balance probative value against judicants before allowing it. In other words, the judge got to weigh it out and see exactly, did the witness say what the agent has listed in the 404B, or did he fabricate it a little bit? You know what I mean? So that's where we at with that, right? So now, the death penalty clarification. Let's go to the death penalty clarification. The government is not seeking a death penalty. However, life imprisonment remains legally possible under federal law because someone, got unalive in the course of this crime. So life imprisonment is, at the back. See, back in our days, they just got us for drugs. Now they get them for music and murder. Where they do this at? All right. The discovery volume. The case involves large amounts of digital evidence. That's their cell phones and social media and all of that, right? Extensive reports and communications that this complexity exists. Repeated trial delays. So trial delays by them keep putting in these motions because they have to get all this right. In other words, they're setting the rules for the game of Lil Durk's life. All right? And this is not a game. Trial delays explain. Delays do not indicate weakness in the case. They are common in high stakes federal conspiracy prosecutions. So don't think because the government is delaying it or the court is delaying it that, oh, the case is weak. Nah, man. That just means that everybody is fighting tooth and nails to be on the same chord on what is going to be exculpatory and, exculpatory means evidence that clears you, because, that's what they use to keep you out. What will decide the case? The outcome will be based on evidence admitted at trial, and that's what they're trying to keep out, certain statements from certain, rat bastards and flip-flop wearing in public trolls, and witness testimony. The witness's testimony. Jury interpretation of the federal law. Now, that's what's crazy because the jury interpretation of the law, right? It's like the jury is only known to follow the instructions that's given to them and the way it was explained to them. That's why the defense and the prosecutors get together to write out the jury instructions together. So if you put a word wrong, a sentence wrong, or you give a wrong avenue, a dialogue where to go, then right there off the top, they could, find a person guilty or not guilty. Right? Because let's ride. We ride, right? The case that I'm listing is called Richardson versus United States. That's from Eddie Richardson out of Chicago. I think he's a gangster disciple. He had the same type of case as I had. So now when he has this case and he goes in, the judge said that, because they told him that they could use any three predicates that they hear to find, me and Mr. Richardson guilty of the CCE. That means continual criminal enterprise, AKA RICO. So now, when they say they could use any of the three violations, and then they had violations that were not under Title 21, that was not drug violations because that was a drug conspiracy that we was charged with, that you can't use anything that didn't fall under Title 21 of the USC drug code because we're charged with drugs. But then now they put on evidence to money laundering that we bought a car for drugs. We done spent $250,000 buying a car, and another $100,000 fixing up the car. When they do all of that, they throw it all in the pot and they say that you could use anything that you heard. But buying a car don't have nothing to do with drugs unless you're going to use the car to move the drugs or protect the drugs, or carry out hit for the drugs. And now they have to prove that as well. You see how they have to prove everything and how everything just flows into order. So now the witness testimony, that's the hardest thing to beat because these rat bastards, they was up under us. That's what makes it so messed up. Now, the public opinion has no legal impact, but it does sway the jury. Imagine somebody watching all this crazy commentary that they hear and a bunch of fake crap that people are saying that don't know what the heck they're talking about. But now somebody watch it and that's the only person that they know to watch, and people in that, mindset that just put out any bull crap, and you got this man behind me sitting there fighting for his life. So now you put it out and they hear this and then they get picked for the jury and they go in there and their mind is made up based on what Whoop the Whoop said on his podcast. And I've been watching Whoop the Whoop for years. See, that's a lot. That's where all of this came into play, with the P. Diddy case. That light-skinned young lady that's always making up all types of stuff about Diddy. She say stuff that's crazy and then come back and say, oh, I'm sorry I said it. But it done ran out there. I know who her name is, but I don't want to say no names right now. But, just want you to understand the seriousness of this, Now, the final legal reality. This case is about criminal allegations, not celebrity status. The verdict will be decided strictly in the federal courtroom, even though it's being swayed in the public social media. What do you think about this? What do you think about what Lil Durk is going through? Do you think that, you know, he's being treated fairly or unfairly? And who do you think, who are the ones, y'all put in the comments, who do you think would be testifying against Lil Durk out the click? Y'all know more than me about that. Who was with him that you think is going to testify? Let's get up out of here, man. All right?
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.
Fresh out the can of 26, yeah. He back on the strip, getting back in the mix. Yeah. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spend a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a raw in Uptown. They be whoring Uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend an ear. He started in Uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community yours, so we can give back to the...
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.